In the world of food entertainment, Jeff Mauro is an undeniable success, but it's a different story when the cameras are off. From watching loved ones battle illness to enduring countless professional failures, Mauro has faced plenty of hardships. Winning Food Network star may have been a uniquely impactful accomplishment that catapulted Mauro from relative obscurity to national stardom, but landing a spot on that fateful show hardly happened overnight. In fact, Mauro failed multiple auditions before landing the spot that propelled him to a Season 7 victory. He lived in LA at the time of his first Food Network star audition, where he had originally moved to pursue a comedy career before eventually studying at Le Cordon Bleu. After failing his first audition, he left Los Angeles and moved with his family back to Chicago. There, he began devoting himself to a full-time culinary career while still making some time for comedy on the side. Finally, after 2 more Food Network star failures, it was his 4th audition that changed everything. He told Chicago Parent, "Some people are like, what does it feel like to be an overnight success? And I'm like, I was 32. I lived in Los Angeles 4 years and failed in my own city for 4 to 5 years, so it wasn't an overnight success." For Jeff Mauro, landing a spot on Food Network star wasn't a golden ticket to happiness and self-satisfaction. In fact, Mauro called his time on the show miserable in an interview with M Magazine. Not only were he and his competitors forbidden from extracurricular activities like reading or watching TV, but Mauro said he found it difficult to spend 2.5 months away from his wife and son. Furthermore, in a Reddit AMA, he outlined even more serious issues with his living conditions during that time. Mauro wrote, "A couple of the housemates insisted on doing all the cooking, regardless of what the rest of the house wanted. It was so stressful in the kitchen, and after we'd got done with a 15-hour day of competing, the last thing I wanted to do was compete in our home. It was a mess. People wouldn't clean, or they would cook all the food for one meal."
That's the plight of the TV personality or whatever.
While Mauro's sense of humor as a kid earned him attention from his peers, some authority figures discouraged him from embracing his inner jokester. In an interview with WTTW in Chicago, Mauro said that his success as an entertainer is especially satisfying, given how often his big personality was penalized in school.
I was a class clown my whole life and only got in trouble for it, and it only hindered my grades in my academic career.
That said, Mauro found motivation elsewhere at a young age. He began studying improv comedy at Chicago's famous Second City when he was only in 3rd grade. Now, he maintains artistic outlets beyond just his TV career, playing guitar and singing in a rock band called Jeff Mauro and the Jewel Bags. From the looks of it, the discouragement he faced as a child became a source of strength, fueling his pursuit of the arts rather than pushing him away. Fans of The Kitchen might remember Jeff Mauro's dad, Gus, from a 2019 Father's Day episode, so it was especially tragic when, on February 1st, 2025, Jeff announced his father's death on Instagram, writing, "After a scary, quick 5-week battle with metastatic pancreatic cancer, we lost our father, husband, brother, poppy, uncle, and friend Gus early this morning. He passed peacefully at his home." In his professional life, Gus Mauro worked as a structural engineer, at one point joining O'Hare International Airport's construction division. In fact, Gus was a longtime resident of Chicago, the city that would later become a defining backdrop in his son's culinary career. The elder Mauro was born there, attended college there, and chose to raise his family there. That family grew to 4 children, including Jeff, and 4 grandchildren, including Jeff's son Lorenzo. At the time of his death, Gus was 75 years old. In 2017, Jeff's older brother Frank was diagnosed with stage 4 colorectal cancer. At the time of his diagnosis, Frank was 43. Unfortunately, the disease never quite went away, even after Frank hit some key milestones over the ensuing years. In July of 2022, for example, Jeff shared a video on Instagram of Frank ringing a bell to celebrate the completion of his chemotherapy treatment. A number of surgeries followed, including what was intended to be a definitive procedure in May of 2024. According to a series of updates Frank posted to a GoFundMe campaign for his treatment, the surgery initially appeared to have done its job. But on January 26, 2025, Frank shared the unfortunate news that his doctors determined his cancer had returned and would require indefinite chemotherapy. While his journey isn't over, Jeff has continuously stressed one big takeaway from the ordeal. He wrote in a Facebook post, "Everyone over the age of 40, do yourselves and your loved ones a favor and schedule your colonoscopy."
The more family and true people you have around you to ground you is better.
Mauro's Sandwich King premiered in 2011, the same year he competed on Food Network star. In 2014, he debuted as one of the hosts of The Kitchen. So in 2016, Mauro was at the height of his Food Network popularity when he decided to open a restaurant called Pork and Mindy's. Its menu consisted largely of creative twists on casual American cuisine with the tagline,
"We are creative barbecue."
But just 3 years later, Pork and Mindy's went bankrupt and closed for good. In just those 3 years, Pork and Mindy's expanded to multiple Chicago area locations and even had stalls inside Mariano's grocery stores. At the time the brand declared bankruptcy, Mariano's had planned to open 28 in-store Pork and Mindy's restaurants in total. Mauro shared some insight into why he thinks his chain ended up closing so suddenly in a 2024 Reddit AMA. While he felt that the brand expanded too quickly, he also said he regretted that certain business decisions were out of his control. After the bankruptcy filing, he notably lost contact with his business partner at the time. Mauro wrote, "Pork and Mindy's was never mine, and I just didn't have the connection I hoped for." When Pork and Mindy's filed for bankruptcy, Mauro was in Abu Dhabi providing food and entertainment at a U.S. Air Force base. After he returned home, he learned that 4 custom jerseys gifted by the Chicago Cubs, White Sox, and Blackhawks went missing. Those jerseys were on the wall at a Pork and Mindy's restaurant, and somehow, because the chain closed unexpectedly while Mauro was away, the jerseys disappeared. In September 2024, Mauro decided to make a concerted effort to locate the jerseys, starting with a post to the Chicago subreddit. He wrote, "If any tip leads to the return of my jerseys, I will shower you in meat and jardinera." His post was upvoted more than 1,000 times and generated over 100 comments, but the location of the 4 jerseys remained a mystery. Given a lack of updates in September 2024, the jerseys are presumably still missing. Around the time Mauro started hosting The Kitchen, he wound up competing on series like Guy's Grocery Games and Cutthroat Kitchen. That run was short-lived though, due to Mauro's frequent losses. As a result, he decided to remove himself from televised competition, saying in a 2015 Periscope stream, "I'm done with food competition shows. I lost every single one except Food Network star." From 2015 on, Mauro did continue to appear semi-frequently on Food Network competition shows, albeit as a judge rather than a competitor. He did eventually end up breaking his promise in July of 2024 when he competed in an episode about Chef. In September 2019, Mauro shared another significant health scare within his family. It was, thankfully, far less severe than what his father and brother endured. In an Instagram post that featured Mauro alongside his then 10-year-old son Lorenzo, he wrote, "This little guy snapped his femur in 2 while jogging in gym class on Thursday. Turns out, he had a cyst on his bone that made the femur weak, which caused one little step to turn into 3 days of pain, surgery, and restless hospital nights." Mauro went on to add that his son's leg was reinforced with plates and screws, and that he was sent home on a new pair of crutches. He also said that Lorenzo was back to laughing, kicking, and drumming. It might seem like Mauro's Food Network career has proceeded smoothly, seeing as he's transitioned from Food Network star winner to Sandwich King host and now co-host of The Kitchen. While that may be true in a broad sense, his first day filming Sandwich King was almost derailed by a serious knife accident. As Mauro recounted in an interview for Authority magazine, the incident took place while he was chopping some herbs with a very sharp knife. But while he used his hand to swipe the remaining herbs off the blade, he accidentally cut off what he described as a good chunk of his thumb. Production was quickly halted, and fortunately, the missing part of his finger was successfully reattached. Adding what must have felt like a serious insult to his literal injury, this all happened in the presence of Food Network Senior Vice President Bob Tuschman. In the end, however, Tuschman comforted Mauro, letting him know that something similar happened to Rachel Ray. And just like with Ray, Mauro's success wasn't derailed by a less than ideal first day at work. On social media and in interviews, Mauro has publicly discussed how he transformed his body through physical activity. He credits his weight loss to a patient, steady mindset and a diversity of fitness regimens. As it turns out, Mauro's physical fitness is a response to a pronounced self-consciousness he felt about his body dating back to when he was a child. He recounted this aspect of his childhood on The Mayor's Office with Sean Casey, explaining that he learned humor could earn him attention in the absence of athletic ability at a young age. Unfortunately, that revelation came from an anxiety about his physique that was so severe, it kept him up at night. He said, "Coach Gray would make us do the mile run in gym class, and it was like I couldn't sleep. Not because I was nervous to do it, but it was like, I don't want to move. I couldn't take off my shirt at public swim. Things of this nature. So I was very nervous just to do this run." On the bright side, it sounds like his childhood struggles have become a strength in the present day, now that he finds fulfillment in exercise.
So that motivates me, right? That just, I don't ever want to be that chubby kid again.
All things considered, Mauro was in a relatively fortunate position during the COVID-19 quarantine in early 2020, as he was able to continue filming The Kitchen from home with help from his family. Understandably, though, it still wasn't an easy time. Among the many challenges he faced during that period, Mauro admitted to breaking down in tears while filming from home. In a Reddit AMA, he revealed that what specifically made him cry was the simple fact that he missed working alongside his usual co-hosts. He wrote, "I cried 3 times during the taping, but I'm okay now. Thanks for asking." At that time, the unprecedented nature of a global lockdown left him wondering whether he would ever see those co-hosts again. Of course, The Kitchen has since come back in its original form, and Mauro is once again working alongside the co-hosts he genuinely seems to cherish.